Story 4 of 50 Famous Stories Retold by James Baldwin. By Laura Caldwell. The Sons of William the Conqueror. There was once a great king of England who was called William the Conqueror, and he had 3 sons. One day King William seemed to be thinking of something that made him feel very sad, and the wise men who were about him asked him what was the matter. "I am thinking," he said, "of what my sons may do after I am dead, for unless they are wise and strong, they cannot keep the kingdom which I have won for them. Indeed, I am at a loss to know which one of the 3 ought to be king when I am gone." "O King," said the wise men, "if we only knew what things your sons admire the most, we might be able to tell what kind of men they will be. Perhaps by asking each of them a few questions we can find out which one of them will be best fitted to rule your palace." "The plan is well worth trying at least," said the king. "Have the boys come before you, and then ask them what you please." The wise men talked with one another for a little while, and then agreed that the young princes should be brought in, one at a time, and that the same questions should be put to each. The first who came into the room was Robert. He was a tall, willful lad, and was nicknamed Short Stocking. "Fair sir," said one of the men, "answer me this question. If instead of being a boy, it had pleased God that you should be a bird, what kind of bird would you rather be?" "A hawk," answered Robert. "I would rather be a hawk, for no other bird reminds one so much of a bold and gallant knight." The next who came in was young William, his father's namesake and pet. His face was jolly and round, and because he had red hair he was nicknamed Rufus, or the Red. "Fair sir," said the wise man, "answer me this question. If instead of being a boy it had pleased God that you should be a bird, what kind of a bird would you rather be?" "An eagle," answered William. "I would rather be an eagle, because it is strong and brave. It is feared by all other birds, and is therefore the king of them all." Lastly came the youngest brother, Henry, with quiet steps and a sober, thoughtful look. He had been taught to read and write, and for that reason he was nicknamed Beauclerk, or the handsome scholar. "Fair sir," said the wise man, "answer me this question. If instead of being a boy it had pleased God that you should be a bird, what kind of a bird would you rather be?" "A starling," said Henry. "I would rather be a starling, because it is good-mannered and kind and a joy to every one who sees it, and it never tries to rob or abuse its neighbor." Then the wise men talked with one another for a little while, and when they had agreed among themselves they spoke to the king. "We find," said they, "that your eldest son Robert will be bold and gallant. He will do some great deeds and make a name for himself, but in the end he will be overcome by his foes and will die in prison. The second son, William, will be as brave and strong as the eagle, but he will be feared and hated for his cruel deeds. He will lead a wicked life and will die a shameful death. The youngest son, Henry, will be wise and prudent and peaceful. He will go to war only when he is forced to do so by his enemies. He will be loved at home and respected abroad, and he will die in peace after having gained great possessions." Years passed away, and the 3 boys had grown up to be men. King William lay upon his deathbed, and again he thought of what would become of his sons when he was gone. Then he remembered what the wise men had told him, and so he declared that Robert should have the lands which he held in France, that William should be the king of England, and that Henry should have no land at all, but only a chest of gold. So it happened in the end very much as the wise men had foretold. Robert the Short Stocking was bold and reckless, like the hawk which he so much admired. He lost all the lands that his father had left him, and was at last shut up in prison, where he was kept until he died. William Rufus was so overbearing and cruel that he was feared and hated by all his people. He led a wicked life, and was killed by one of his own men while hunting in the forest. And Henry, the handsome scholar, had not only the chest of gold for his own, but he became by and by the King of England, and the ruler of all the lands that his father had had in France. End of Story 4. This recording is in the public domain.